When we looked at our total product or total output, we saw total product wasn't linear. It was rising initially at an increasing rate, and then it was rising at a decreasing rate, and later on we may see it may also fall. Now, when it was rising at an increasing rate, it was for the first two workers. So for the first two workers, TP is increasing but at an increasing rate. Now we also said this, the rate at which TP is changing is the marginal product. So marginal product is the slope of TP or change in output when one more worker is employed. So when I look at MP diagrammatically, we can see that MP for the first two worker was rising, and then MP starts to fall. When the marginal product of labor increases as employment increases, as we can see for the first two worker, we say there are increasing marginal returns of labor. Each time a worker is hired, the total output is rising by more than it did for the previous worker. And therefore, we can say that the MP is rising or TP is increasing at an increasing rate. One reason of why the increasing marginal returns to labor happens is because we hire more workers, which can allow more specialization to happen. So for example, what the first worker can do one task, the second worker can do other tasks, and they can become better at what they're doing. So division of labor can improve what we call output for each additional worker. Another reason is that at very low levels of employment, there may not be enough workers to properly operate the available capital. In other words, the capital utilization is not ideal at low levels of employment. But as the employment goes up, the capital utilization becomes better, and the productivity for each worker increases as more workers are hired. After the first two workers, diminishing marginal product takes place. As you can see, MP starts to fall. The diminishing MP happens when output rises, when another worker is added, but the rise is smaller and smaller with each successive worker. Now, why does this happen? One possible explanation of the diminishing marginal product or diminishing marginal return is simply that when you are adding more and more worker, the additional gains from specialization will be harder and harder to come by. But more importantly, each worker now, as we add more workers, given the capital is fixed, then have less and less of the machinery or the fixed factor to work with. So we can say that since capital is fixed, by adding more and more labor to the same capital, the capital to labor ratio falls. And this is called the law of diminishing returns or law of variable proportions, which states that as we continue to add more of any one input, holding all other inputs constant, its marginal product will eventually decline. Now we also say this, that the law of diminishing returns is a physical law and not an economic one. It is based on the nature of production, on the physical relationship between inputs and output with the given technology. Now in our example, diminishing returns set in after two workers were hired, and beyond that point the firm is just crowding out more and more workers into the company with just one, let's say, automated line or plant to clean the cars. Now output did continue to increase, since there is usually something an additional worker can do to clean the cars more quickly, but the increase is less dramatic each time because the capital to labor ratio kept on going down. With the same capital, more labor means the capital that is given to each additional worker will be lower now.